Objects, properties, and methods. Again, consider your telephone. Your telephone is an object. As an object, which is an instance of a predefined class, basically you have some properties and you can take some actions. Consider your telephone. Your telephone is an object. If you take a look at your phone, you have a name of the model of the phone that you're using. It has a height and width and the weight property and can do something. You can call someone with it. So this is an object which has some properties and can perform some actions. Usually in programming concept, we know an object as an instance of a class, and a class is nothing like a blueprint. Class defines how an object can be created. So consider an object that is defining how you can interact with something in your application. Like a form is an object, like a command is an object. So like a form that can be resized, can have different colors on it. These are all properties of it. Like the phone that can have different names on it. Like your car that can have different colors on it. So the properties are attributes that an object can have. In other words, using the attributes, you are making that object to be uniquely identified. And you can refer to it. And then, of course, the actions. They are like methods. They are like sub-procedures, event procedures. Like, for example, like a function procedures that an object can perform. So let's take a look at this. There are available objects, like a form itself. The form itself has many different properties, like caption, default view, view allowed, and so forth. These are all different properties window that you can actually refer to it by right-clicking on that object and going to the property window. In order to retrieve a particular property of an object programmatically, it's very simple to do that. All you need to do is specify the object name, put the period, and then automatically the IntelliSense shows all available properties that you can retrieve programmatically and choose that property and set the value to it. Like in this example, object name dot property name equal to new value. Sometimes you can refer to a method of an object. Like an object can perform something. You can set the value, but you can call an action to be performed. So in this scenario, you can call a method name. Sometimes the method name can take arguments. Like for example, you want to move one control from one point to the other. You're passing the X and Y to it, for example. Or you want to delete a record. What record number you want to delete. So you could actually pass arguments to it. In order to reference an object from one location to the other, you have to specify the object name and then use the bang operator or exclamation point and then specify a particular control on it and then specify the property. So as you see, use the bang operator. You could, like for example, refer to a form. As you see, the forms is a collection. Forms collection is part of Access program. So you say, within the forms collection, out of all available forms in my Access database, go and pick a form called orders. And out of that orders, go and pick this particular control on that form. You see, using the bang reference object point, you're referring to objects. If you want to refer to a property, after you refer to that last object that you're referring to, you can use the dot. In this example, out of all available forms, you pick orders, and then you're setting the caption of that specific form to be something. So remember that. Properties always being referred by a dot, and objects always being referred by a bang or exclamation point. So in this example, as you see, you're referring to an object or its property. Like in this scenario, out of the reports collection, you are picking up invoice report and you're setting the text property of that report called visible to be true or false. Obviously, this particular example here in this book is not really making sense because you're just referring to a property, but what are you going to do with it? Are you reading it or are you setting the value for it? So here, you're either missing an equal sign here with a value on it, or you're missing a variable equal sign that holds the value of this visible. So keep that in mind that sometimes this information in your book, it won't make sense to you. You have to understand what you're doing with it. So there are available items like reports, which is a collection of available reports. An invoice, which is an report, part of the reports collection. Or a text box, which is basically an item within a particular module. And then visible, which is a property. This is another example. You're setting the value of the text property of the text box to be equal to the forms collection orders form text subtotal plus forms collection orders form text right. So as you see, these two can be calculated, and you can create your own calculated controls. In other words, fields that don't exist part of your table, you can actually create them on the fly by using this reference pointing. There is a keyword called me. The me keyword refers to the current module that is running. In the case of form, you can refer to yourself as a me. Me keyword means whatever modules is running at the same time. In other words, you are referring to the current running module. In this scenario, you're actually referring to the me. That means that current module or that current form, and you're referring to the subtotal text field, and you're adding that up. And instead of going through the long running names, forms, bang, form name, bang, control name, you could just say me, bang, control name. So that's a shortcut, in other words. In order to obtain the control values, you use the control on a form in a way that you are either setting the value on it or basically reading the value from it. In this example, for example, if I have a command called display, on the click event, I'm setting the focus on the text box, and then I show the message on that particular text box. You can obtain the value that way. There are other examples here listed. Like, for example, you're setting the value of integer category ID to be equal to the value of your combo box, whichever you have chosen. Or in the case, for example, on the category text combo box, you are putting the variable to be set into a string name. There is another video in which allows you to watch, how to obtain variables from your form. So please pay attention to this video.